The stars were quiet that night. Admiral Kung Ginho stood at the bridge of his ship, the horizon's edge, and looked out at the endless darkness of space. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 30 years exploring the universe, and he had never fired a weapon in anger. That was the human way now. Peace, discovery, hope. Behind him, his crew worked in calm silence. Park Yuna, his chief engineer, was checking the engine readings on her screen. She was small but fierce, with quick hands and a quicker mind. Lee Doan sat at the communications station, listening to the empty static of deep space. He was young, barely 25, with a gentle face that made him look even younger. The Horizon's Edge was not a warship. It was an exploration vessel, built to discover new worlds and make friends with new species. Humanity had been in space for 300 years now. They had spread across 3 star systems and built beautiful colonies on dozens of planets. They had met other aliens before. Most of those meetings had been peaceful. But not all aliens were peaceful. The first sign of trouble came. It was a small blip on Dowan's screen. He frowned and adjusted his equipment. The blip became to blips. Then 10. Then 100. "Admiral," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "We have contacts. Many contacts. Coming fast." Jinho walked to the screen and looked at the readings. His face did not change, but his heart began to beat faster. Those were ships. Hundreds of ships. And they were not human. "Try to contact them," Jinho ordered. Standard greeting. All languages. Dowan sent the message. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then the screen flickered and a face appeared. It was not a human face. It was the face of something else entirely. The creature was tall and covered in hard black shell like an insect. It had 4 arms and 2 legs. Its eyes were red and cold, without any warmth or kindness. When it spoke, its voice was like metal scraping against stone. "I am Warlord Tor of the Vec Dominion," the creature said. "You have entered our territory. Your kind is unknown to us. You will surrender your ship and your people. You will become servants of the Dominion. This is not a request." Ginho kept his voice calm. "I am Admiral Kong Jinho of the United Human Fleet. We are explorers. We mean no harm. We did not know this was your territory. Perhaps we can talk and find a peaceful solution." Warlord Tor made a sound that might have been laughter. It was an ugly sound. "Peaceful? We have conquered 47 species across this galaxy. The weak serve. The strong rule. That is the only law. You have 10 seconds to surrender." "We have families on the ships behind us," Jinho said. "Colony ships. Women, children, civilians. They are not soldiers. Please, let us talk." Tor's red eyes showed nothing. No mercy, no understanding. 5 seconds. Jinho opened his mouth to speak again, but he never got the chance. The Vec fleet opened fire. The first blast hit the horizon's edge and threw everyone to the floor. Alarms screamed. Red lights flashed everywhere. Park Yuna shouted something about the engines. Dowan was bleeding from a cut on his head but kept working at his station. "The colony ships." Ginho shouted. "What about the colony ships?" Dowan looked at his screen. His face went white. "There. They're firing on them, sir." "All of them?" Ginho ran to the window. He could see the flashes of light in the distance. Those were not explosions in some far-off battle. Those were his people. His fellow humans. Families who had spent years traveling through space to build new homes on new worlds. The colony ship. Dawn of Hope exploded first. It broke apart like a toy, pieces flying in all directions. 20,000 people died in an instant. Then the Star of Soul was hit. Then the New Busan, one by one, the colony ships were destroyed, while Ginho watched, unable to do anything. 80,000 people. Gone in minutes. "Sir, we have to go," Yuna shouted from the engine room. "The ship is badly damaged. We cannot fight. We can barely fly." Ginho did not move. He kept watching the destruction. His hands were shaking, not with fear, With something else? Something old and dark that humans had tried to forget. Sir, Yuna shouted again. Finally, Jinho turned away from the window. His eyes were different now, harder, colder. Get us out of here, he said quietly. Maximum speed. Back to Earth. The horizon's edge limped away from the battle. The Vec let them go. Why would they chase one small broken ship? They had already won. They had shown these weak creatures their power. As his ship flew through the darkness, Genho sat down at his station. He recorded everything. Every moment of the attack. Every word Tor had spoken. Every ship destroyed. Every life lost. Then he sent a message to Earth Command. It was short and simple. They drew first blood, awaiting orders. 3 days later, President Cho Min-ji stood before the United Human Council. She was a small woman with short black hair and calm brown eyes. She had been a teacher before she became a leader. She believed in peace and education and talking through problems, but she was also the daughter of a soldier and the granddaughter of a soldier. And she understood something that the Vec did not. Humans were not weak. They were patient. There was a difference. My fellow humans, she began, her voice steady and clear. 3 days ago, we lost 80,000 of our brothers and sisters. They were not soldiers. They were farmers and teachers and children with dreams. They died because an alien empire decided that we were too weak to deserve life. She paused and looked at the faces of the council members. Some were crying. Some were angry. All were waiting. The Vec Dominion believes we are prey, Minji continued. They believe we will bow down and serve them like the other species they have conquered. They looked at our exploration ships and saw weakness. They looked at our peaceful ways and saw fear. She leaned forward and her voice dropped low. They were wrong. They have no idea what they have awakened. Humanity has been at peace for 200 years because we chose peace. We chose to explore instead of conquer. We chose to build instead of destroy. But make no mistake, we remember how to fight. We remember how to win. Inji straightened up and spoke her final words. They think we are cute little creatures who will cry and run away. Let us correct that assumption. Let us show them what humanity truly is, the council voted. The decision was unanimous. For the first time in 2 centuries, humanity prepared for war. Across the stars, Warlord Tor celebrated his easy victory. He had no idea that he had just made the worst mistake in galactic history. Warlord Tor stood in his grand war room and smiled. Round him his officers celebrated with loud roars and clashing of arms. They had destroyed the human ships so icily, it was almost boring. The humans had not even fired back. They had simply run away like frightened animals. Report to the High Council, Tor ordered. Tell them these humans are soft creatures. No threat at all. We should send an invasion fleet immediately. Their worlds will make excellent slave colonies. His message traveled across space to the Vec homeworld. The High Council received it with great pleasure. A new species to conquer, new slaves to serve, new resources to take. This was the Vec way. They had done it 47 times before. They would do it again. The Council approved Tor's request. 2,000 warships would be sent to human space. It would be the largest invasion fleet in a century. Surely, it would be enough to crush these weak creatures forever. What the Vec did not know was that they had only seen one face of humanity. The peaceful face. The explorer face. The face that humans chose to show the universe. But there was another face. A darker face. A face that humans had hidden away for 200 years because they were ashamed of it. Deep beneath the surface. Of Earth, in a bunker that had not been opened since the last Great War. Defense Minister Han Sung walked down a long metal hallway. He was an old man with a scarred face and mechanical arm. He had lost that arm in the border war of 2289, the last time humans had fought each other. He had hoped to never see war again, but hope was not a strategy. He reached a massive door made of solid steel. Above it, written in red letters, were the words, Directive Omega, authorized personnel only. Sung placed his hand on the scanner. A light flashed green. The door slowly opened. Inside was a room filled with screens and computers. Everything was covered in dust. No one had entered this place in 2 centuries. But when Sung pressed a button, the machines came alive. Lights flickered on. Screens glowed blue. A voice spoke from the speakers. Directive Omega activated. "Welcome back, Minister. Shall I wake the fleet?" "Yes," Sung said quietly. "Wake everything." Across all human worlds, something strange began to happen. In the deserts of Mars, the ground started to shake. Great doors opened in the sand and massive structures rose up. They were shipyards. Hidden shipyards that had been sleeping underground for 200 years. On the moon of Europa, ice cracked and fell away from hidden hangars. Ships emerged. Not small exploration vessels. These were warships. Real warships. With thick armor and heavy weapons and engines built for speed and power in the asteroid belt. Hollowed-out rocks opened like eggs, revealing factories that had been waiting in silence for this exact moment. Robots that had been frozen for centuries came back to life and began their work. This was the Reaper fleet. Humanity's secret shame, their hidden sword. 5,000 warships, each one designed for a single purpose. War. After the last great human war, the survivors had made a choice. They would never fight each other again. But they also knew that the universe was dangerous, so they built the Reaper fleet in secret. They hid it away and hoped they would never need it. Now they needed it. On the horizon's edge, Admiral Jin Ho received a message from Earth Command. His promotion had come through. He was now fleet commander of all human military forces. It was not an honor he had ever wanted, but he accepted it without hesitation. Park Yuna worked day and night in her engineering bay. Before the attack, the Vec had gotten close enough for her to scan their technology. She studied their weapons, their shields, their engines. "What she found made her smile, sir," she reported to Jin Ho. "The Vec technology is powerful, but old. They have been using the same designs for centuries. They have not improved anything because they have never needed to. Every species they conquered was weaker than them. And us?" Jin Ho asked. Yuna's smile grew wider. "We are not weaker, sir. I have already found 7 ways to defeat their shields. Give me a week, and I will find 70 more." What had taken the Vec 300 years to develop their shield technology. Park Yuna broke it in 72 hours. This was the human way. When faced with a problem, they solved it. Fast Lee Dowan, the young communications officer, had been given a new job. He was now head of intelligence, tasked with listening to all Vec communications. The Vec thought their codes were unbreakable. "Dowan broke them in 2 days, sir," he reported to Jin Ho. "The invasion fleet will arrive at Proxima Gate in 3 weeks. 2,000 ships?" Jin Ho nodded slowly. 3 weeks. That is not much time. From the doorway, a new voice spoke. "We only need 1. Jin Ho turned to see a young woman in a captain's uniform. She was small, with sharp eyes and short hair. Her name was Bei Hannah, and she was only 30 years old. But she was already famous across the fleet for her brilliant tactical mind. She had won more war simulations than any officer in history. "Captain Hannah," Jin Ho said. "Thank you for coming." Hannah walked into the room and looked at the tactical displays showing the Vec positions. They are confident, too confident. They have never lost a battle. That makes them predictable. "What do you suggest?" Jin Ho asked. Hannah pointed at the map. "Proxima Gate. That is where they will come. They will expect us to run or hide. Instead, we will meet them there with everything we have. We will show them what happens when you poke a sleeping dragon." Across the fleet, humans prepared for battle. Some were afraid, some were angry, all were determined. They had tried peace. They had offered friendship. And the Vec had answered with death and destruction in her quarters. President Cho Mingi recorded a message for all humanity. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with cold fire. "My fellow humans," she said, "we did not want this war, did not start this fight, but we will finish it. Vec believe that might makes right. They believe that the strong have the power to crush the weak. They are about to learn the truth." She paused and took a breath. "Humanity is not weak. We are not prey. We are the children of warriors who survived ice ages and plagues and wars. We are the descendants of people who crossed oceans in wooden. Boatswain walked on the moon with nothing but courage and math. We do not give up. We do not surrender. And we do not forget. Her voice hardened. They killed 80,000 of our people. They will learn why no one should ever make humanity angry. The message ended. Across human space, people watched it in silence. Then they got to work. The sleeping giant was awake. Yes. And it was very, very angry. The Vec invasion fleet arrived at Proxima Gate like a storm of metal and fire. 2,000 warships, each one massive and covered in weapons. In the center of the fleet, aboard his flagship, the Endless Fury, Warlord Tor looked at the stars ahead and felt nothing but confidence. This would be easy. Like all the other conquests, the humans would see this great armada and fall to their knees. They would beg for mercy, and Tor would give them none. Scan the area, Tor commanded. Find their pathetic defense fleet. His officers worked at their stations. Then one of them made a confused sound. Warlord, the scans show nothing. No ships, no stations. The area appears empty. Tor laughed. They have run away. The cowards could not even face us. Open a channel. I will broadcast our victory to the entire galaxy. The channel opened. Tor raised his forearms in triumph and began to speak. Attention, humans. Your space belongs to the Vec Dominion now. Your worlds will serve us. Your people will become our slaves. This is the fate of the weak. Accept it, and perhaps we will let some of you live. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then a voice answered. It was calm and cold and completely unafraid. This is Fleet Commander Kong Jinho of the United Human Fleet. Thank you for coming. We have been waiting for you, Tor frowned. Waiting? You have nothing. Our scans show empty space. Your scans, Jinho replied, are wrong. And then the universe changed. 4,000 human ships appeared all at once. They had been hiding, using a technology the Vec had never seen before. Cloaking devices that bent light and fooled sensors. One moment, empty space. The next moment, an army twice the size of the Vec fleet, surrounding them from all directions. For the first time in his long life, Warlord Tor felt something cold in his chest. Fear. Possible, he whispered. This is impossible. On the bridge of the UHSV Vengeance, Captain Bayhana smiled. She stood at the center of her command deck, surrounded by screens showing every ship in both fleets. Beside her, Tactical Officer Yoon Jiho was already calculating firing solutions. Captain, Jiho said. All ships report ready. Weapons charged. Shields at maximum. Hannah nodded. Tell all ships to remember the colony vessels. Remember the 80,000? Today, we give them justice. The battle began. Human ships moved like dancers, flowing through space in perfect coordination. They did not fight the way the Vec expected. They did not charge forward in straight lines. Instead, they attacked from angles. They appeared and disappeared. They struck and retreated. They used the Vec's own size against them. The Vec had always won through raw power. They had bigger ships, more guns, thicker armor, but humans had something else. They had creativity. They had adaptation. They had centuries of studying how to defeat stronger enemies. Park Yuna's work paid off in the first minutes of battle. Human weapons cut through Vec shields like they were made of paper. The virus she had designed spread through Vec computer systems, making their ships fire on each other. Chaos erupted in the alien fleet. Captain Hannah executed a maneuver she had invented in war simulations. She called it the Soul Spiral. 300 Vec ships were drawn into a tight formation, chasing what they thought was a retreating human squadron. Then the trap closed. Human ships surrounded them and created a crossfire so intense that nothing could survive. 300 ships died in minutes. On the Endless Fury, alarms screamed and fires burned. Tor watched his fleet being torn apart and could not understand what was happening. These were supposed to be weak creatures, soft explorers who had never known war. How were they doing this? Fight back, he roared. Destroy them all. But the Vec could not fight back. Their formations were broken. Their communications were jammed. Their computers were infected. They fired wildly into space, hitting nothing while human weapons found their targets with perfect accuracy. Admiral Jinho commanded the battle from his temporary flagship, the UHSV Justice. He felt no joy in the killing. He felt no pleasure in the destruction. He only felt cold determination. This had to be done. The Vec had chosen this path when they attacked innocent people. Focus fire on their command ships, he ordered. Cut off the head, and the body will fall. Human ships swarmed the largest Vec vessels. They moved so fast that the Vec gunners could not track them. They targeted engines and weapons and shields with surgical precision. One by one, the Vec command ships went dark. Warlord Tor watched his fleet die. Half his ships were already destroyed. The others were damaged and scattered. This was not a battle anymore. This was a massacre. Retreat. He finally ordered, all ships retreat. But retreating from humans was not easy. Hannah had positioned her ships to block the escape routes. Vec vessels that tried to run found themselves flying straight into kill zones. More explosions, more death. More lessons learned too late. Finally, after 6 hours of fighting, the Vec managed to escape. But they did not escape unharmed. Of the 2,000 ships that had arrived at Proxima Gate, only 600 limped away. The rest were debris floating in the darkness. The humans had lost ships too. 200 vessels destroyed. Thousands of brave soldiers dead. But compared to the Vec losses, it was nothing. Tor sat in his damaged bridge and stared at nothing. His great invasion fleet was broken. His reputation was destroyed. He had promised the High Council an easy victory. Instead, he had led his people into a disaster. With shaking hands, he sent a message to the Vec homeworld. His voice was quiet and hollow. We may have miscalculated. The humans are not what we thought. Request immediate reinforcements. Request ... help. Back at Proxima Gate, Captain Hannah stood on her bridge and watched the Vec retreat. Her crew was cheering. They had done the impossible. They had defeated the conquerors, but Hannah did not cheer. She knew this was not over. The Vec would come back. They would want revenge. This battle was just the beginning. Fleet Commander Ginho appeared on her screen. His face was tired but satisfied. Well done, Captain. You saved us today. Hannah shook her head. We won a battle, sir. Not the war. What happens next? Jinho's eyes hardened. Next, we stop playing defense. We take the fight to them. They came to our home and killed our people. Now we go to their home and show them what happens when you make humanity angry. The orders went out across the fleet. Rest, repair, reload. Tomorrow, humanity would strike back. The Vec Dominion had 3 major shipyards. These massive space stations built all their warships. Without them, the Vec could not replace their losses. Without them, the Vec war machine would slowly die. Fleet Commander Ginho pointed at the map in the war room. These are our targets. We hit all 3 at once. Fast and hard. We do not stay to fight. We destroy and leave. President Cho Minji stood beside him, studying the plan. This is dangerous. We will be deep in enemy territory, as Jinho agreed. But if we wait, they will rebuild. They will come back stronger. We have to end their ability to make war now, while they are weak. Minji was silent for a moment. Then she nodded. Operation Blackout is approved. The human fleet divided into 3 groups. Each group had 1,000 ships. Each group had 1 target. Captain Behana led the attack on the most important target, the orbital shipyard above Vec Prime, the Vec homeworld. This was the heart of their empire, the most heavily defended place in their entire territory. But Hannah was not afraid. She never was. Her task force arrived at Vec Prime at exactly 0600 hours, Galactic Standard Time. The Vec Defense Fleet was waiting for them. 500 ships, angry and desperate. They had lost badly at Proxima Gate. They would not lose here. All ships, Hannah commanded. Attack pattern Delta. Focus on the shipyard defenses. The ground team needs to get through. The space battle began. Human and Vec ships crashed together like waves against rocks. Weapons fired. Shields flickered. Ships exploded on both sides, but the humans kept pushing forward. Closer and closer to the massive shipyard, in a small transport hidden among the warships, Lieutenant Kim Nari checked her weapons one final time. She was a small woman with a scar across her cheek and eyes that had seen too much death. She was a demolitions expert, the best in the fleet. And she was about to do something very dangerous. "Right, team," she said to the 15 soldiers with her. "We land on the shipyard, plant the bombs, and get out. Simple." One of her soldiers, a young man named Kang Siwoo, laughed nervously. "Simple," she says. "We will be surrounded by thousands of Vec." Nari smiled. "Good thing we are humans, then." The transport flew through the chaos of battle. Vec weapons fire exploded all around them. Twice, they nearly died. But their pilot was skilled, and their luck held. They crashed through the shipyard's landing bay doors and slid across the metal. Floor in a shower of sparks, Nari was the first one out. She shot 2 Vec guards before her feet touched the ground. "Move. We have 12 hours." The team ran through the shipyard corridors. They planted bombs at key points: power stations, fuel storage, computer cores. Each bomb was powerful enough to destroy a city block. Together, they would turn the entire shipyard into dust. For 3 hours, everything went according to plan. Then everything went wrong. They were on their way to the final target when alarms started screaming. Doors slammed shut around them. Vec soldiers poured in from every direction. Hundreds of them, then hundreds more. The team fought their way into a large cargo room and sealed the doors. But the doors would not hold forever. Through the metal, they could hear the Vec gathering. 800 soldiers at least. Maybe more. "We are trapped," Siwoo said, his voice shaking. "There are too many." Nari looked around the room. Her mind worked fast. She saw storage containers, fuel tanks, electrical systems, and she saw something else: a way out. But first, they had to survive. She activated her communicator. "This is Lieutenant Kim Nari to any human forces. We are surrounded. Enemy count approximately 800. We will hold as long as we can." On her ship, Captain Hannah heard the message. Her heart sank. The extraction shuttle would take 4 hours to reach them. Could 16 humans survive against 800 Vec for 4 hours? Nari did not wait to find out if help was coming. She started giving orders. Use the containers for cover. Rig the fuel tanks to explode if they break through. "Siwoo, can you access the electrical system?" "Yes, but why?" "Make it rain lightning on anything that comes through that door." The Vec broke through the first door 30 minutes later. They poured in like angry insects, weapons firing. But the cargo room had become a death trap. Electric shocks from the walls, explosions from rigged containers, and 16 humans who refused to die. Nari fought like a demon. She used every trick she knew. She threw bombs that released blinding light. She shot fuel tanks at just the right moment to create fireballs. She even used broken metal as weapons when her gun ran out of bullets. 1 hour passed. The Vec kept coming. 2 hours. The humans kept fighting. 3 hours. Bodies covered the floor, but most of them were Vec. "How many have we killed?" someone asked. "Stopped counting at 200, another soldier answered. The Vec could not understand. These creatures were small and soft. They should have died in the first attack. Instead, they were turning the cargo room into a graveyard. A Vec commander finally pulled his troops back. He stared at the door where his soldiers kept dying and made a decision. If they could not kill these humans with soldiers, they would kill them another way. "Seal the room," he ordered. "Remove the air." Inside, the team felt the air growing thin. The Vec had cut off their oxygen supply. They had maybe 20 minutes before they suffocated. Nari closed her eyes. Was this how it ended? Then her communicator crackled. "Lieutenant Nari, this is Captain Hannah. Extraction in 5 minutes. Can you hold?" Nari laughed. It was a tired, bloody laugh. 5 minutes? "Captain, I could hold for 5 days. The extraction shuttle crashed through the shipyard wall exactly 4 minutes and 30 seconds later. It was not a gentle rescue. The shuttle simply tore a hole in the station and let space do the rest. The Vec in the hallway were sucked into the vacuum. The humans, protected by emergency suits, grabbed onto the shuttle and held on. 11 humans made it out alive. 5 did not. As the shuttle flew away, Nari pressed the detonator. Behind her, the shipyard exploded in a massive ball of fire. The largest Vec shipyard was gone. Far across space, Admiral Ginho led the attack on the second shipyard. His ship, the Horizon's Edge, was badly damaged in the fighting. Rather than retreat, Ginho made a different choice. All hands, abandon ship, he ordered calmly. Head for the escape pods. Then he aimed his dying ship at the shipyard's main reactor and pushed the engines to maximum. Ginho ejected at the last second. He floated in space and watched his beloved ship crash into the station. The explosion was beautiful and terrible. When it was over, the second shipyard was debris. The third shipyard surrendered before human forces even arrived. They had heard what happened to the other two. They did not want to die. Operation Blackout was a complete success. In one day, humanity had destroyed the Vec ability to make war. Now it was time to make peace. The Vec High Council met in their great chamber on the homeworld. The mood was dark and heavy. Their invasion fleet was destroyed. Their shipyards were burning. Their proud empire was on its knees. For the first time in 1,000 years. The Vec were afraid. Counselor Maul stood before the other leaders. She was old, even by Vec standards, with gray shell and tired eyes. She had warned the council against attacking the humans. They had not listened. Now she was the only one who could save them. We must ask for peace, she said quietly. We have no choice, the other counselors argued. Some wanted to keep fighting. Some wanted to run. Some wanted to surrender completely. But in the end, they all agreed. There was no other way. A message was sent to the human fleet. The Vec Dominion requested a ceasefire. They wanted to talk. President Cho Minji received the message aboard her transport ship. She was traveling to neutral space, a place between human and Vec territory where both sides could meet safely. She had brought no warships. Just one small transport with 50 people. Her advisors had called her crazy. The Vec could not be trusted. They might attack her. They might take her prisoner. But Minji knew something her advisors did not. The Vec were beaten. Truly beaten. And beaten enemies were the most dangerous kind. If she came with warships, the Vec might fight out of fear. If she came alone, they might find the courage to make peace. The meeting place was an old space station that had been abandoned centuries ago. When Minji's transport arrived, she saw the Vec delegation waiting. Counselor Maul was there, along with several guards, and in chains between them, looking broken and defeated, was Warlord Tor. Minji stepped off her transport with her delegation. Admiral Jinho walked beside her, his arm in a sling from his escape at the shipyard. Captain Hannah was there too, along with Lieutenant Nari and her surviving team members. Park Yuna and Lee Dowan completed the group. These were the heroes of the human victory. The people who had turned disaster into triumph. Counselor Maul looked at the small group of humans. They did not look like conquerors. They looked tired and sad, but there was something in their eyes. A strength that the Vec had never seen before. President Cho, Maul said slowly. I am Counselor Maul. I speak for the Vec Dominion. We wish to end this war. Mingi nodded. So do we. The two leaders sat down at a simple metal table. Around them, humans and Vec watched in silence. This was the moment that would decide the future of both species. Maul gestured to Warlord Tor. We bring you the one who started this war. He will face whatever justice you require. His life is yours. Tor looked up at Minji. His red eyes were empty. He had been the greatest warrior of his generation. Now he was nothing. A failure. A fool who had attacked the wrong enemy. Mingi studied him for a long moment. Then she shook her head. I do not want his life. I want something else. Maul leaned forward. What do you want? Your empire has conquered 47 species, Minji said. I want them freed. All of them. No more slaves. No more conquests. The Vec will live in their own space and leave others alone. The Vec counselors whispered among themselves. This was a great sacrifice. Their empire was built on conquered worlds. Without slaves, their economy would collapse. But what choice did they have? We, agree, Maul said finally. I am not finished, Minji continued. Human observers will be stationed across your territory. They will make sure you keep your promises. If you break them, we will come back. And next time, we will not stop until the Vec Dominion is nothing but a memory. Her voice was calm. Her eyes were cold. She was not making a threat. She was making a promise. Maul nodded slowly. We understand. We agree to your terms. The treaty was signed. The war was over. As the delegations prepared to leave, Maul asked Minji a question. It was the question that had been burning in her mind since the humans had appeared from nowhere and destroyed everything. Why? Maul asked. You had the power to destroy us completely. You could have taken our worlds, enslaved our people, made us pay for what Tora did. Why did you show mercy? Mingi was quiet for a moment. Then she answered. Because we remember what it is like to nearly destroy ourselves. Long ago, humans fought terrible wars against each other. We almost wiped out our entire species. We know what hatred does. We know where revenge leads. She looked at Maul with something that might have been sadness. We do not want to be conquerors. We do not want to rule over others. We just want to explore the stars and find new friends. But we will never be victims. Not again. Not ever. Maul nodded slowly. She understood now. The humans were not soft or weak. They were something far more dangerous. They were people who had looked into the darkness and chosen the light. But they remembered the darkness, and they could find it again if they needed to. In the months that followed, the galaxy changed. 43 alien species requested alliance with humanity. They had watched the war from a distance. They had seen the Vec, the mighty conquerors, brought low by creatures half their size. The freed species celebrated. For the first time in centuries, they were free. They could build their own futures. They owed everything to the strange, small creatures called humans. Admiral Jinho retired to a quiet colony world. He bought a small house by a lake and spent his days fishing and reading. Sometimes reporters came to interview him. They called him a hero. He always shook his head. I am not a hero, he would say. I am just a man who did what needed to be done. Any human would have done the same. Lieutenant Nari received the highest military honor for her actions on the shipyard. She accepted it quietly, then went back to work. There were always more battles to prepare for. More people to protect. Park Yuna became the head of human technological development. She spent her days finding new ways to explore the universe. She never built another weapon. Li Daoan returned to communications work. But now, he listened for friendly signals instead of enemy codes. He found 11 new species in his first year alone. Captain Bei Hanna was given command of the new flagship, SV New Dawn. It was the largest exploration vessel ever built. Its mission was simple. Go out into the unknown and find new wonders. On her first day as captain, Hannah looked out at the stars and smiled. The war was over. The future was beginning. And somewhere out there, the universe was waiting. President Chominji gave one final speech before the Human Council. Her words would be remembered for centuries. We are humans, she said. We are curious and kind and always reaching for the stars. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We want to explore it. We want to learn from it. We want to make friends with everyone we meet. She paused and her voice grew stronger. But let this be known to every species in every corner of the universe. We protect our own. We do not start fights, but we finish them. Attack us, threaten our families, and you will face the full power of humanity. She smiled, but her eyes were serious. We are small. We are soft. We look harmless. But we are human, and that should make you think very carefully before you cross us." The message spread across the galaxy, and everyone who heard it understood the truth. Humanity was watching,